ready?
What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
Y'all about to hear some crazy shit.
And now, it's the Called Podcast. Live at the Called Studio in Trinity. With Travis Powers and Brendan Powers.
Here we go.
So we got Amber Miller today.
Woohoo. Hi, guys.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
So this is our first female guest. That's actually a pretty big deal.
Oh, that's exciting for me.
Yeah, that
That's
matters.
cool. Yeah,
That
yeah.
matters.
So, yeah. I mean, first person that identifies with being a female, I guess.
Yes, I definitely. I am a female.
And you identify as that.
I
Okay.
identify as a female.
Cool.
That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know a little bit. But I don't want to steal the thunder from you. So
Okay. This is weird. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. I feel like I want to see your faces when I'm talking.
right now you can pull that
Does-
down towards you. See how I just
Yeah,
pulled
how
mine?
is yours?
Just yank it
Yeah,
towards
just
you.
pull it
But then when I
down.
do that, it comes all the way out.
And now
here.
you can lift it up.
You can lift it up. Like it
Ah,
has.
like that. There we
Yeah.
go. Okay, I think this is good.
It's
I
good?
think. I
you
think.
can even get that part in the front to move by itself,
Yeah.
so you can get it closer to your mouth.
Is that
without-
good?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me good?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Amber.
Hi, Amber.
I am 33 years old, which just the other day I forgot, and I thought I was 32. My daughter thought it was the funniest thing.
Right.
So I'm 33. I'm a mother of two girls, 15 and 5. 10-year gap in case you're doing the math.
Wow.
Yes. Also, in case you're doing math, yes, I had my first daughter very young. I was 18. So I had her right before I graduated high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, a little about me besides being a mom, which those girls are my life, my world, my everything. I work in property management.
Okay.
So I actually work at a corporate office. I do accounting. I do due diligence. So like when a property is about to be bought and purchased, like I'm on the back end collecting all the documentation, everything that we need to get the sale going and moving.
Mhm.
So I do that Monday through Friday. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
That's
little bit
cool.
about me.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. So when I met Amber, she was doing that property management thing. I had moved to Tampa when I got promoted. I moved to Tampa, and then I got an apartment complex. I was searching for them, and honestly, I think I brought it up was the difference between my experiences at one property place than the other was you.
Yeah.
You know, I said, well, you were just really cool and down to earth and friendly. And it kind of like was a good invite to a new neighborhood,
Yeah.
you know, in a new place. And it was a troubling time for my life. And I was going through some stuff, and I would go pay my rent check, and Amber would be in there, and I'd give it to her, and I'd sit down and we'd talk, and we built a pretty good friendship. And I never met the little one, but I did meet your daughter. I think she was like 8 or something.
Yeah. She was probably 8.
And you met Colton when he was
Yes,
little.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so adorable.
Yeah, so I had him half the time, and I would bring him in sometimes, and we'd sit there and he'd play around or whatever, and just a good positive person to have around. And so when you called, or not called, but when you messaged me back and you said, hey, if you feel led to let me in,
Yeah.
and at the same time he's going, we need to get a girl in here, man. We can't be having this all dude fest.
Here I am.
And I'm like,
Yeah. Just
I know the perfect person. They already said they already reached out. So
Oh yeah, I watched that and I was like, I gotta get on this. Well, it was one of those things where I just felt instantly, like you said, we met each other years ago. Being on that side of the property management, just to put this out there, like that's my passion, that's my drive. I'm a people person. I love people. When you put me in that element, I'm very comfortable. I'm very just myself because I'm just in my element when I'm doing that. A lot of times people are like, yeah, but don't you prefer being in corporate and whatnot? Corporate has its perks where I only work Monday through Friday.
mm-hmm.
I'm guaranteed to get off at 5. Well, because of my position, I'm guaranteed to get off at 5. But being on site, talking to people, getting to know people, it's
Right.
very important in that industry, believe it or not, to build rapport with
Right.
people, because you want to contain them and you want to keep them and you want them happy, and you do become a little family. You're a therapist, you're a
Right.
friend, you're a shoulder to cry on. Well, okay, maybe you can't really cry on somebody's shoulder,
Right.
but doing that, like, I love that. Like, I loved
Right.
that aspect of it. And then I moved over into corporate, and like my heart's desire, like I desire to go back on site, and I
Mhm.
want to grow. And the way that I'm going to grow, it has to be on site. So
That's
meeting
cool.
you, you were a fun person that came in, and like you said, like you were broken, and we had lots of good talks with
Right.
one another, and you would get your cookie and your coffee that I would make. Well, I didn't make your coffee, but I
Right.
made the cookies.
They were good.
So yeah.
That's cool.
I think that's a good thing to look at just for people listening, because I think today, 2021, post first pandemic, whatever is going to happen here in the future, a lot of bad stuff, a lot of grim news and all these shadowy things and, secretive things and who's right and who's wrong.
Right.
So you said, like, oh yeah, you were broken. Well, clearly you're not broken right now.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I mean, I come to the realization, like, I was always kind of like a saved person. I believe in Jesus. I proclaim that. But I didn't always follow through with what elders were telling me. Elders in the church, they could be younger or older than me. But people tell you, what you need to hear, and you either take that and do something with that, or you just kind of put it aside. And for me, I would say, while you were talking, to hear it from your perspective, is interesting, because I remember you're like, hey, you're kind of like, and it was a nice thing to say. You kind of define what I see as a man taking care of his kid and this and that. Because I think in your situation, if I remember correctly, your first child wasn't quite the ideal. Not to throw your dirty laundry
It's
out
okay.
there.
Go ahead, do it.
but you're a wonderful mom.
Thank you.
And only certain people deserve to have that around. So, but there was some things going on there. And I think having a woman's perspective as a friendship is important in that time, because I wasn't certain that I was doing everything right, and to have somebody go, yeah, Trav, you're doing it. You're doing the right thing. Because it was tough. It was tough at that time.
So this is something you guys have a complete cloth over me in terms of the child.
Yeah.
I have no kids,
Okay.
and I'm 30, so I'm at that age now where
Come on, Brandon, hurry up.
yeah,
Now.
people are looking at me and they're like, "So you don't have kids? What's wrong with him?
Yeah. A lot of people say
How long
that.
has he been in prison?"
I don't know why society makes it to where, like, we all have those certain ages that we think certain stuff has to be done.
Yeah.
To throw more out about me, because I'm not ashamed.
Oh,
Like,
shouldn't be. Right.
I've made mistakes, but in my mistakes, they're blessings. I don't really. It is a mistake. And yes, I grew up in a Christian home.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a Christian school. I had my children in a Christian school. And
That's cool.
I made a decision which got me my first child, and we all know what that decision was. And I got caught up in it, and just the pressure of high school, the pressure of kids and whatnot, and you're wanting to fit in. And I'm not even normally a person like that, right? Like, I'm just not. I don't do what everybody else is doing. Whenever anything comes out, like, I'm usually behind the trend.
Right.
I don't go with the trends. I just never have. I never cared to.
What wasn't interesting?
No, not
Right.
really.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Just
And then in high school, like, the lies that young girls and girls, like, in general, and some guys, like, the lie that if you have certain relationships with the opposite sex, that they won't cheat on you, that they'll love you, that they'll care for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you think in high school, like, we're going to be together forever. Like,
Right.
everybody does. Every teenager is like, this is my life. Like, if something bad happens, like, you feel like your whole life is over. Your life is not over. Like,
Right.
in 5 years, you're not even going to talk to
so and so.
80% of
Yeah,
these
you're
people
not going to
need
talk
more.
to them. Like, and granted, like I went to a really small school. So like we all kind of, I don't want to say we all talk because we don't all talk, but we're all well aware of what's going on in each
Right.
other's lives. Like the one person that I'm super, super close to, and that is my best friend. So I met her in high school and we have been like soulmates, not that kind of way, but
Right,
soulmates,
right.
like on a whole different level, her and I, in our walks of life, which our friendship has developed, and it's so mind blowing, like how her and I started to where we're at now. Going through parenthood, motherhood together. Obviously, I was the first one to start it. And like
Right.
I said, technically I was 17 when I became pregnant. Not technically, I was.
Right. Right.
Okay, I was 17.
Mhm.
I found out right, I'm just going to put it all out there. So I found out right before my senior year.
Wow.
I went on this trip with another, a friend, a good friend. At that time, she was my best friend. Went on a trip with her and her family. Found out there I just wasn't feeling good.
Ooh.
And I like asked her, you know, like, can you go with me? And like, can we get this test and whatnot? And her and I drove to the grocery store and wow, I've never talked about this before. Just thinking
Wow.
about that. But here we go. So we went to the grocery store and we went to the bathroom and we did it there at the bathroom because we didn't want her parents to know about it.
Of course not.
Sure.
Hey, we're just
yeah.
getting a pregnancy test. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, some slushies.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Slushies. But anyways, yeah, so I did it there. And on July 4th, I don't remember the year. No, it would have been July 4th, 2005, because I graduated in 2006. There we go. There's the year.
There you go.
July 4th, 2005, I found out that I was pregnant with my first Pride and Joy.
Nice. Nice.
Um,
Scary.
it was very scary. So the thing about me, my mom used to share with me and my brother as we were growing up, you know, like, we're going to break the family curse. And that's how it was said to me. And you're going to break the family curse because a lot of people in our family would have babies young. Now, my mom had me and my brother young, but the difference between my mom and myself, my mom and my father were married.
Right.
And to this day, they are still married. Now,
Right.
they're not the perfect couple, you know, by any means. Like you
Right.
walk through a lot of tribulation and trials and
Sure,
whatnot
sure.
together as a couple. And they'll be married on the 28th for 34 years.
Wow.
So a year longer than my age. So anyways, what was I saying?
So you had to. I think you were going along the lines. You go into the bathroom. You're this
Yes.
young child. You especially then you think you're this adult. You're doing all these adult things. Then you say you were involved in something. We don't like to call it a mistake, but something happened, and
Yes.
and you end up pregnant at 17 years old. The curse thing comes. I think where you're going with this is that it's a major thing.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, it is. Having a child is a huge thing.
Huge, no matter how old you are. And imagine like being 17, like all of a sudden you find yourself. And like to give more backstory of myself, I was a goody two shoes. Like I was a teacher's pet. I was a goody two shoes.
Straight A's.
No,
Okay.
I wish. What am I trying to say? Basically, I never thought it would happen to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I never, ever thought it would happen to me. You hear about all these other kids doing it and all this kind of stuff happens and they never get pregnant. Like none of that ever happened. So I just thought I might be one of the lucky ones.
Right.
And obviously I made some poor decisions, but again, those decisions led me to a blessing. My life and where I'm
Sure.
at wouldn't be here without my firstborn child. She
Right.
taught me a lot and it took a lot. And to like back up a little, because I keep jumping. I'm sorry.
No,
I jump
go
a
for it.
lot.
Nah,
You're good. You're good to go.
So go back to when I was in the bathroom with my friend and we find out like I'm pregnant. Like it was just a shock and I just thought it wasn't real. This isn't true.
Yeah.
Like God, like what? I'm such like, you know, I'm a good girl. Like how is this happening to me? This can't be happening. Fast forward. I am 7 months pregnant it's about to be the new year, 2006. Graduated in 06. Fast forward, my dad gets a dream. Okay. And he talks to my mom. They go out and he talks to them. Now, mind you, they just thought maybe I was making bad choices, but they weren't sure what it was.
Yeah, they picked up on something's up with Amber.
Something's up. She's
That's
different.
our daughter. You can't hide it from mom and
like
dad.
This super bubbly personality. I mean, I was still bubbly and like cheerleading. Oh my gosh, you guys. I was a cheerleader. So going to practices, like flyers falling on me, like it really wasn't that dramatic. But anyways, just to like paint a little picture. And my mom approached me and just to put it all out there, like I didn't tell my parents.
Yeah, scared.
I was so scared. My mom constantly, like my mom and dad are some of, and I'm not just saying it because they're mine, are some of the best parents. Like they were very good role models in my life. They trusted me so much. And as their daughter, like
I failed you.
Yes. Like you feel like, oh my gosh, like I failed them. And your mom talks to you about this family curse and oh my gosh, now I'm a part of it.
Right.
Like, and you don't want to be a part of it. And I don't even know what I was thinking. Like you're young, you're immature, and you're not ready to face these kind of things like alone by any means, even when you're an adult.
Yeah.
You get this rush, I'm pretty sure, at that moment where, oh man, that's why they said don't do these things.
Yeah, it is.
And you're like, oh man, I didn't listen. And then you feel like a failure or something like that because these people that are authorities in your life when you're young, someone explained it to me this way. I kind of had feelers for it, but put it out there. Like when someone in an authoritative position, like your mom or your dad, say something to you, you take that as fact.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's fact, whether it's a teacher, your parents or whatever, and then you carry that with you and you never forget that. And then something traumatic happens. This is like trauma and you get that shock. This isn't real.
Yeah.
This can't be real.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This goes against the grain. Like, wow. Like my whole foundation, my whole world has been turned upside down. So at that moment, and then the 7 months come, parents pick up on it.
Yeah.
They're like, there's something up with Amber.
Yes.
We don't know what it is.
And you guys, that was 7 months.
One of these things is not like the other.
So you got like, if it's not an early term, you're like, I'm 2 months, so let me just go ahead and lie to my parents about it.
Yeah, no. So the talk happened.
Ooh, at that moment at 7 months.
So yes. Okay. So, like, and to back up a little, I was really little. Like I wasn't growing. I was, it's really hard to talk about.
Yeah.
But like I guess I never really discuss it. Like, and I don't really go into like what I was feeling in that moment. Like it's just kind of like you block it.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, you block it. But I know I am here, and people might need to hear my story. Girls might be going through
somebody
this
needs
right now.
Somebody needs it.
And like, okay. So, and I'm not gonna cry. I don't even cry a lot, y'all. So if I cry, I apologize.
You're good.
Okay. So back up, like at 7 months pregnant, I was in front of my whole family in a 2-piece bikini. Okay. Not one person suspected something was going on with me, that there was a baby in my little belly, like nothing. You're pregnant 9 months. So really we were at that 8-month mark. My dad gets this dream, and it was a dream. You know what? I don't actually vividly remember what he was dreaming, but he knew like he needed to talk to my mom, and my mom needed to talk to me. Like we were just going to have the talk, make sure like, Amber, if these are the choices that you're about to make, like, first off, we don't want you to. And it's not that we're giving you permission, but what do we need to do to use precaution and to be safe, in the matter? Not that they would be giving me permission in any way, shape, or form to have relationships like that. So she sits me down, she talks to me. I remember it, y'all. I was in the corner bedroom and she calls me, and I come out and I'm wearing a big oversized sweatshirt. I wore oversized sweatshirts all the time.
Right.
Girls at my school would like feel my belly when we were in cheerleading uniforms, and I'm like, oh my gosh, your belly's so strong. But it's like, oh yeah, abs. Like it wasn't abs.
Wow.
So my mom sits me down and she's just like, talking to me about some stuff. And then, and she just asked, like, I don't remember how she put it, but we won't worry about that. So jump forward and she just goes, "Are you pregnant?" So the first thing out of my mouth was no.
Oh.
And I'm like, here we go again. Are you pregnant? Are you worried that you might be? And in that moment, it's like, okay, God, here it is. Like, I got to get it over with. I made adult choices and now I got to deal with it, right? You're dealing with adult consequences when you're a kid and you're trying to make adult decisions. So I went ahead and I was just like, I said yes. Or I said, no. I said, well, I haven't had my cycle. She's like, okay, like how long?
Like 7 months.
Yeah. Yeah. So I tell her. So she goes, okay. She's like, I'm going to go get your dad. And I'm like, no,
not dad.
No, don't get daddy. Like, don't get daddy. Like, no.
Poor thing.
And my dad comes out. And I'm sitting on the couch and I'm sitting in this corner of the couch and my dad's sitting in this chair. Sorry. And I remember, I was so ashamed.
Yeah.
Like I was so ashamed. Like, here I am, like I have two amazing parents. Like I was at a good school, but yet a crazy school. Have great friends, great youth leader. Like I'm a Christian girl. Like I'm all of this. Like you're not supposed to be pregnant. You're not supposed to be dabbling with this kind of stuff. Like what is wrong with you, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm hiding my face. And my dad goes, Amber, he goes, look at me. He's like, I'm your father. Because there is nothing that you can do that would make me not love you and not care about you. Oh my gosh, sorry.
Right.
You're right.
And in that moment, like, it just like a whole weight was lifted off my shoulders. Like, here we go. Like, but we were about to face some pretty hard things as a family because kids, like, my gosh, when you make decisions, adults tell you all the time, it doesn't only affect you. And you don't understand that because you're so caught up in your own world, your own life. And you think, oh, it only does affect me. Like, I don't care how it's going to affect so-and-so. No, it affects other people around you. Like, that is a real thing.
Yeah.
So me and my family, like, we go from my dad telling me that to them giving me big hugs too. I wake up the next morning and I kid you not, a girl who is like almost 8 months pregnant, my little belly all of a sudden popped.
Boom. Wow.
There it was. I'm pregnant. All of a sudden, like it was so real. Like the weight was off my shoulders. Like here it is. Like
It's amazing.
We had to confront this.
Yeah.
And like we go and we find out because my parents were thinking maybe it's just stress. It's a lot of stress. You know, maybe there's a possibility she's not pregnant. And we go and like the doctor confirms it and I almost pass out because it's so much, you know, like all at once, like
It's
just
crazy.
everything.
So this thing is growing in you and it's such a wonderful thing. And at the same time, it's like, wow, you're talk about having one foot on the dock and one foot on the boat this whole time. And you're stuck in the middle and you're trying to please everybody, right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to keep everything in check and keep it. I just want it to be back to where it was normal. I want it to be like it was before all this. And I think one of the things that you got me thinking of something that happened in my life with traumatically with my parents and that had to do something with me. And I was lying. And I think what I pull out of this when I hear you is, and if you're watching, if there's something like that going on in your life, the earlier you tell the truth, the better. You could have had that burden lifted off of you a long time ago.
One weekend, you could, like when you got back from your trip, you could have been like, "Hey, no one's gonna like to hear this right now,
but here it is.
But I can't hold it. I can't sit here for 8 months and hold it." So,
but how else are you gonna learn it? You know what I mean? Like how.
That was the lesson right there. That was that lesson you needed to go through. So I'll tell you a little, I'll make it brief because I want to spend most of the time on your story and your experience. But so I'm in the opposite camp of where you're in. As a man, you're a woman. Yeah. I'm not going to have any kids anytime no matter what I do. Okay. But so I was dating a girl I'm not going to use her name or anything, but I was dating a girl for several years. We lived together. And I was all about it. You know what I mean? But there was always this voice or this nagging feeling of like, man, is this really it? You know, is this really it? But then you always go, we've been together for so long and I don't want to hurt this person and I love this person and I'm going to be a good man or whatever. And so my best friend was getting married at the time, and her and I got invited, and I was the best man at the wedding. And so like a week before the wedding, I wake up one morning and my girlfriend's out on the couch bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, what's going on? And she goes, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, why are you bawling? You know what I mean? Like, and I was about 20, we were like 25, 26. So it wasn't like we were young kids. We were still young kids.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, why are you that upset about it? And she basically goes, well, I don't want to have it. I don't want to have a kid. And so it evolved, and it turned into, well, I don't want to have a kid with you.
Ooh.
And so, nothing against her. She did what she thought was right.
Right.
And so basically I went to the wedding. She went to get the procedure.
Yeah.
And then she met me at the wedding. And so she was able to catch this so early. It wasn't even like an official procedure. It was like, here, take this drug and it'll basically flush you out for 6 weeks or whatever, 2 days, whatever it was, whatever it turned out being. And so while I'm at my best friend's wedding as the best man, my girlfriend's in the bathroom every 2 minutes with this stuff, coming out and going through this whole process. And so that kind of ruined me for a couple years. You know what I mean? Like, but it taught me a lot of lessons. And so I'm just only saying this because, you're on one side of the fence as a female, young, gets pregnant, goes through it, has the courage to go through it. Now you're somewhere else. I'm on the other side. I'm a man. And I was in the position where I didn't want to be that person that was like, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, you're
going to do what I want you to do. And so I basically just looked at her and I said, well, I think that settles it then. Like, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to do. I'm not going to control you. I don't want you to only do it because of how I feel.
Right, right.
So just saying that, just to show you, everybody listening, that, people are affected by these things in many different ways.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have a question for you, for people listening, because like you said, I do believe that there might be just one person, one girl that'll hear this and it'll break it for her. She'll go tell her parents, or she'll go figure out what she needs to do, or some guy will hear this, that he's going through what I was going through. What would you say is a piece of advice, or maybe not even advice, that's kind of corny, but just what, if you got in front of a person, if you got in front of a 17-year-old girl who was hiding this from their parents and you knew it, what would you say to that person?
Oh, go tell them immediately. You don't have to walk like that. That's the thing. Like, I chose myself to walk those 7 months by myself, isolated, dealing with it on my own, dealing with it, but not dealing with it because you're 17. Like, I'm a senior in high school. Like, seriously, like your mind, like you're just not even, at least me, I wasn't in that moment. And if I could have just, like you said, if I could have just told my parents, circumstances could have been different, emotional wise, like in what I was feeling internally, and that feeling of just a shame and guilt and all the above. And like at the end of the day, to know like you're still loved by so mine in the natural, my father, but in the spiritual, that's how God loves us.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing we can do that will make him not love us. And that was like, you not only have that from your heavenly father, but hopefully you have that from your earthly father. And if you don't, and you only have your mother, like tell them, you might not like what the circumstances and what comes of it. You might not like what they are pushing you to do. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
Oh yeah. Like there's so many, I wasn't the only person who this happened to in high school,
but
right?
I bet you felt alone though.
But oh yeah,
that's
you feel
illusion,
so alone.
right?
So
You're
like
the only person on earth.
Yeah, you do. You just feel exactly. You're completely alone with all these people around you, loving family around you, and you're just by yourself.
Yeah.
Dealing with this. Like I went to a small Christian school. So let me tell you, this is a huge no. You don't do this. And so what the rules were, if you become pregnant,
Mm.
you will get expelled, right?
Right.
So we're in that doctor's office to like bring it back. We're in the doctor's office. We find out I about pass out. My dad has to sit me on the bed and like, not on the bed, but on the, whatever the chair is in the doctor's office.
They have that like, thing you sit on.
With the paper. You can hear the paper. Paper.
Just to make that paper always makes it even more awkward, doesn't it?
Does. You're like, every single time you move.
You go,
Yeah. So I'm like on there and trying to like regroup and like come together with the realization like this is now real. And because I was so far along, we had to do everything, right? So I had to do all these tests. We got to look at the sonogram. That's when I found out like I have this beautiful baby girl growing in me.
Right.
Okay. So, but we had a lot of stuff that we were about to have to deal with as a family, as a whole, at a Christian school. So that happens the next day. It's time for us to all return back to school, y'all. So like we had to have a meeting with the principal and we had to explain to them what happened. Obviously they know what happened, but we had to explain to them the situation. And in that moment, you know, I was worried. Like, I'm going to get expelled. Like, this is going to be it. Like, I'm not going to be able to finish high school. What do you mean? Like, I'm almost done with high school, y'all. Like, it is January. I graduate in May.
Right.
So we go forth and thank God, like, thank God in that moment who the principal was. He might not have been my favorite all the time. If he's listening, I love you though. But he was just like, okay, well, here's what we got to do. So instead of getting expelled, I had to withdraw. But in being that I withdrew, so here comes all the fun nitty gritty stuff that ended up taking place.
The nitty gritty.
Yeah, the gritty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I had to withdraw. I had one class left. It was English, I think. I think it was English. Like I had already had all my other credits. This is the only class. And at that time, like it was so cool because you're a senior and you only show up to school for like a few hours and then you get to leave. Like how cool. Yeah, you're cool. Like you are so cool in that moment. So I had my one English class and of course I was no longer allowed to basically be on campus, be on site.
Ooh.
I had to take my classes with my teacher off site. So we would meet at a library. We would meet in like a coffee shop. We would meet in these different places for me to finish. On top of that, I had to go to counseling. On top of the counseling, I had to go before my school and the student body. And I had to tell them what I did.
Ooh.
Okay. Now here's where...
Wow.
I'm not still angry about it, but
I
might get a little hype.
I'm thinking
discussing
of,
this.
I'm thinking that's different for me to go do something like that at 40 something years old and then to have a 17, 18-year-old kid. That must have been quite the situation.
It was hard.
That's nuts.
So, and only I had to do it. Guess what? The birth father didn't have to.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what? You have Amber, who is a cheerleader, who is a part of National Honor Society, who is a part of anything and everything school related. Like I was everywhere. You did not see me, but also because maybe we only went to school with like a couple hundred kids. So everybody knew who I was. I had little kids, little elementary girls who loved and adored me. Like I was their world and they looked up to me and it was so cool because you got to see me, you know, at the games on Friday nights, cheering at the basketball games 3 nights a week. Like I was so involved in this school. So I had to go before everybody. I had to go before my class. Okay, when I say everybody, here's the truth. I had to go before my class and I had to go before my team.
Yeah.
And I had to tell them.
Okay, so real quick. Did Dad go to the same school?
Yes.
Oh, man. How messed up is that?
Yeah. So Dad did. So Dad.
He got to go hide?
He's a birth father, by the way.
Birth father, okay.
Yeah, just we'll put
throw
that
it out there like that.
Let's throw that out there. He was a star football player.
And
I was the cute cheerleader. So like, you know, it's just so like, oh, like so sweet. It was hard. It was hardcore stuff though that we were about to face. And yeah, he didn't have to say anything. Because when I got up there, so we were in our chapel And everybody got called in, and like my nerves, y'all, my nerves.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Oh,
that.
it was hard. And to go before everybody and to tell them what happened. And like, here's the thing, like the school just wanted to know I was so sorry about it. That I
All political.
that I kind of regretted my decision. Like, oh my God, like they were like that. But then on the other aspect, like this could happen to anybody except like
We're going to use little Amber as an example for everybody to stare at and look at. And she's going to get up there and she's going to read the script.
It's like a military tactic.
Yeah.
And
Make an example of it.
here's the consequences.
and we don't really want to hurt our football program. So, so here's the consistency problem. If you're going to, that I have a problem with this whole thing
Yeah.
is that there's no consistency.
Mm-mm.
We're gonna hey, never let a good crisis go to waste. What can we use this for? And then they come, and you're 17, so these people, these of the school that are authority again, and you're
Right.
taking this in as fact as a
Mhm.
17, 18-year-old child, right?
Yeah.
And they're manipulating you.
Yeah.
So that must have been like, that probably took years to realize.
It
when
did.
you reflect back on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, like I don't talk about it. That's like
But I don't want to go too far ahead. I want to take you back to, you're in front of the.
I'm in front. Oh yeah. I'm in front of the class. I'm in front of my cheerleaders. I'm in front of sports people, sports personnel. Our school was huge on sports. Like it's
Right.
really funny because you fast forward. I'm going to jump one more time. That's a lie. I jump a lot. Fast forward, you have my daughters who are in their school, and it's based off of education. Education is number one. Education is number one. Parents are paying for their kids to go to these schools. Education should be number one, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So in my daughter's school, like if you don't have certain grades and whatnot, like you don't get to play, like you don't get to participate. Now, mind you, those were the same rules that like we had, but you're talking about a school that was more, in my eyes, it was more based off of sports. Who can we get here to win championships? Like, and we were a sports school. Everybody that hung out, like all the cool kids, like we all were in athletics together, like with each other, like ride or die the whole way through. But yeah, so now if he did have to go before his class, maybe I just wasn't a part of it
Right.
because he was there when I had to do it. Right. And I don't remember if he did have to. I'll have to ask my best friend because I don't know that he had to.
Well, to me, the consistent thing would be is like to get you both together.
Yeah, and talk.
Hey, what you go to a Christian school, the Bible says y'all should be married when you do this. So like, let's counsel this young
Whole
couple,
other story.
right? Let's counsel this young couple right now, not split them up and use them for, well, he's got some games he's got to play.
Yeah.
And she's got to go out and say this. So we don't have this problem again.
Yeah.
So it's very much about, at least from what I'm reading in here, is that it becomes about the school and the school's image
Yeah.
rather than the young, tender hearts of these children that have made a mistake.
That know they made a mistake.
Yeah.
And they're not really, the illusion might be they're not really throwing stones at you. They're helping you.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell you how this is all supposed to work out.
Mhm.
And this is the way it's going to go.
Well, this is something Travis and I have talked about for like a year, is that there's a reason that we're in this studio behind these microphones and bringing people into this studio and not on the side of US 19 with
Yeah.
signs that say, you're going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that kind of
Mm-mm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what those people did at that school to me is a type of that. It's
Yeah.
it's a form of that. And we have a little slang we came up with. It's probably a bad one, but it's called ugly outreach. That's what
Yeah.
we call that. It's people who
Yeah.
That's good.
they're like, oh, well, here's God and here's this, but and it turns into this negative thing. And so I've never gotten that. I remember every time I see these, I'll just use the people on the side row with the signs. If you're one of the people with the signs on the side row with the sign, nothing wrong with that. You do what you got to do.
Yeah, we're not judging.
I'm not judging you for doing that. But what I want to ask is, has that ever changed anybody's mind?
No.
I've never at one point ever seen any particular thing on a sign being held by a guy on cardboard and gone, that guy's got a point.
Yeah.
It doesn't come off right. It doesn't come off well. You get a bad feeling in your
It's
stomach.
kind of like let's make everybody feel guilty
Yeah.
Right.
about abortion or whatever they're holding the signs up for. And so the ugly outreach is kind of like a term for, we understand, completely understand why somebody would, on the outside of the church, looking in, right? This is good that you brought this up, because they're looking in and they're seeing situations like yours, and they're pushing people out of the church, and they're keeping who they want, and they think people are going to come rushing in, because really we want more people to be the
Right.
body of Christ, right? And so we're like, we can understand why somebody would look at the church and go, well, why the heck would I want to be part of something like that?
Right.
And so we're probably not, I'm not going to say we're not, but we're probably not going to go on the side of the road and hold up signs anytime soon. But I think we already feel like there's enough of that in the church, right or wrong, not judging. And there's enough of unrelatable situations that really shouldn't be maybe part of the church or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, be consistent, and I think we just came up with that because it's understandable why people look at us as believers and go, those people are crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or they, all it would take is somebody who's very anti-Christian, anti-God to hear that and go, "Whoa, there you go,
There you go.
there you go."
There you go.
Or
right?
the guy who, I remember when I was like a teenager, like a late teenager, like probably like a senior or something. And I would go to youth group. I was a drummer. I'd play in the youth bands and travel around. And so there was a church. I'm not going to say the name of the church. There's a church that my parents and my grandparents, they all went to for years and years and years and years and years. And they loved the pastor. Well, it came out that the pastor of the whole thing cheated on his wife.
Yeah.
And he came to the congregation, admitted all that, and stepped down from the church. And it
Right.
broke my family's heart. And I remember we're all sitting there at dinner one night, and they're all just going on and on and on. And I don't know what came over me. It was probably just the Spirit. And I said, well, guys, he's still just a person.
Yeah.
He's still just
He
a
is.
person. He's going to make
Exactly.
mistakes. And I don't really feel like it's in the best nature for us to sit here around a table and judge him. He came out, admitted it. He realized the mistake. I mean,
It's a good example, actually.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's right. I'm not saying I'm proud of him. I'm just saying people are going to make mistakes. And God clearly states that doesn't matter.
No.
That doesn't matter.
Right.
No.
He used murderers for his purpose.
He did.
Right.
He uses everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter what your story is. He can change your story and make it so beautiful. And that's where people get their testimonies, right?
Right.
And I agree. Like, at the end of the day, pastors they're just people like you and me.
They're just people.
Their sin is no different than my sin.
Right.
Oh.
And that can
And their
be
good
like,
works are no different than
Yeah.
your good works.
it's no different. And a lot of times, like, we hold sin here on earth, we hold sin on different levels.
Right.
But in God's eyes, it's all the same.
Right.
And that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is. Yeah.
That's extremely hard, because I'm like, what? You're
Yeah.
going to tell me I told a little white fib and it's the same like I killed somebody?
right.
What?
Yeah.
Like, is that real? Is that true? But
Yeah.
yeah, like, I agree with how you handled and what you said in that situation. And for our school, like, it was it's funny because in that moment, we needed God's children to come around us and to love us and to
Yeah.
hug us as a family,
Right. Be
because
supportive.
what we were going through was really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not angry though. Like, I understood, and I still to this day, like, I understand they can't just have a bunch of pregnant people walking around their school.
Right.
When you're at a Christian school, you sign contracts when you go into Christian schools, and these things are said.
Right. Right.
You get pregnant, this is what happens. You
Right.
do this is what happens. And you're signing this agreement. But it's like, I agree with it and then I don't, because I got to experience it firsthand and how it made me feel and what it did to me. And I was shunned.
Right.
We were shunned.
Well, the funny thing is that you sign the agreement not to get pregnant and they expel you and okay, whatever. But then they reach across the table and they're like, well, we're just going to, what do you call it? Instead of expelling?
Withdraw.
We're going to let you withdraw. But we're in the contract was it, we're going to make a public flogging of you.
Yeah, no, I guess
You know what I mean?
wasn't-
That's not part of it.
That wasn't in there, you know?
Right.
Like at the end of the day, it turned into I got to walk across the stage with my class.
There you go.
I graduated high school. Like I finished and my 3-month-old child at that time was there at my graduation, which is mind blowing.
Awesome.
And she was there, but it was hard. It was having to go to those, having to go to that therapy, having to go before everybody and say how sorry I was, knowing I can't set foot on this campus. My brother went to school there, y'all. So when
Right.
I had to pick him up, I had to park up by the church.
This is so
And I
weird.
couldn't go, okay, here's the church, here's the school. I could park here, but I could not cross over and go here, right?
So we forgive you, but
but
we're going to
You're
keep
shunned.
making you pay for this,
Yeah.
this
Don't let
thing
me
you
see
did.
you ever again.
it was like an embarrassment. It was really hard when I would go to therapy. Well, everybody knew when I was at therapy, they would see my car pull up and they would run over into the church and give me hugs. And because of course all my friends still love me.
Right.
Right.
Even going through that, like let's talk about that because you can go off a different subject with that. When it came to certain friends, certain parents didn't want them to be friends with me anymore.
Well, I'm just
Right.
gonna call it out right now, okay? Because we're getting close to that time for the episode. If anybody's listening, okay, and you're on the fence about God, and you hear something like this, and you're like, Psh, you see what I'm saying? I can tell you 100%, and everybody, all three of us in this room will agree with me. Jesus would not have done that.
No.
Jesus would not have forced you to park by the church
No.
and you got to withdraw. And he would have given you a big old hug and said whatever he had to say. I'm not Jesus. I can't put words in his mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just saying this is the problem, guys. The problem is not God. It's not Jesus. It's
people.
not. It's people. It's people that
People.
misuse the information. Or like Travis and I have talked about, it's they have created a version of Jesus that works for them.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
whatever ends they need it to work for. And we all do this. You know, I think everybody who's a Christian or someone who's got faith at some point in our life, something we also say, we partition it. We say, okay, well, I'm going to go to church on Sunday and I'm going to read my Bible on Monday. And then Tuesday, I'm going to get drunk as crap with all my friends and not talk about that anymore.
And then they're all going to go, yeah, he says he's a Christian.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go, yeah, look at this guy. He goes to church. What a friggin' joke.
Right.
Just wanted to point that out. So guys,
Not that there's anything wrong with going out,
no,
you know,
no,
but there's a difference between the idolatry, which is I make this version of Jesus, which is like the weekend warrior, maybe even if that every once in a while I'm a weekend warrior and no reading, none of this, none of that. And then you end up with the result of, well, what do we do with this pregnant child? Or what do we do with this? Well, I tell you what we do. We do what the world does. And then the world looks and they go, see, they're just like us. So what's the point? And
Yeah.
what's
you get
different about
stirred
them?
Yeah.
They're just making them pay more money to go to the school
And they're
and wear
going
the
to
uniform.
they're going to judge us by our fruit.
Yeah. So that's something that I just wanted to point out is that, you know, it's about the intention. And, you know, I think as a faithful, we have to make the conscious decision to not choose to be like the world. That's the exact opposite of the whole point of the thing.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The whole point of the
Yeah.
thing. So what that tells me is that whoever was in charge of that school, they didn't get it.
Right.
They didn't get it. Maybe
Yeah.
they didn't want to get it.
They
Maybe
missed the
just
mark on it.
Maybe
Yeah.
they just didn't. They weren't in that place yet. Whatever. That's just what that tells me. And I would be very happy to talk to that person and no, really, and just kind of be like, so what? You know what? I would like you to tell me where you're at. And maybe I'm wrong. You know, I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so maybe I'm wrong. But from what I know and the walk that I have, it sounds like you got your numbers a little mixed up.
Yeah, it's almost like whenever you're, and there's like a church is an organization and they have rules, right? They have these rules. You do this, you do that, and you sign the contract and you live by it, right? It's when they start to go, well, how can we use this? Or, you know, it would have been fine if they would have said, you got to go. And then they, on the outside, instead of casting you away, they would have brought you in and say, hey, but we know these people. And if there's anything we can do to help, let us know.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing you in for their show.
A political football.
Right. And then it's the contract ain't the problem. The rules they had aren't the problem. It's like the people and their ideas, like how they were able to manipulate the situation for their favor and not really consider what it's like to be 17 in a bathroom and
scared out of your mind.
Yeah.
And then,
So scared.
the whole thing with your parents and waiting the long, they didn't take any of that in consideration. They probably didn't even ask you, like, you
No.
okay?
No.
Are you okay?
Right. That one
No.
time, like, how do you feel?
What if it was a different situation and you weren't a student and you were on the side of the road crying and whoever works high up at that place goes, Hey, young lady, are you okay? Can I get you some help?
Whatever you do, just don't park over here.
Yeah.
Well, no, not even that. That's kind of like what she dealt with. But if it was a different situation, you weren't a student, right? And they saw you on the side of the road crying, right? And they asked you what's wrong, and then you're like, I just found out I was pregnant,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to do. They probably would have, but because you were one of theirs.
Yeah.
Oh, this makes us look bad.
Right.
We must
Yeah.
not, oh man, it's rough. That's a rough one.
It is.
That's a good story, though. That's a good. I'm glad you came in and shared that, and I'm glad you got emotional with it too.
I had to be quiet for a second because I was like,
Yeah, I was sucking it back. I was having to use every bit of manpower I have to.
this story
hold that
makes
in.
your eyes sweat.
Yeah. It's got some. No, that was I thought that was a great session. I'm really glad you shared that. Someone's going to hear that and need it, even if it's not a young girl who's dealing with that issue. It's going to touch somebody, and it's going to open somebody's heart.
Well,
So
we could even have her back in and kind of take it from there if you're willing to one day. And because there's something that happens after that.
Yes. Which, just to sorry, not to throw it off.
Go for it. Boom.
But when I was that age, as I was a few years older, so in my early 20s, it used to be put, God's going to use that story.
Yep.
My life didn't happen how I thought it would. Whose life does, though? Okay.
Right.
My life didn't go in the direction. It didn't line up exactly how I thought it. I definitely overstepped the getting engaged, getting married, and then having children step. I went boom to having children. And we can definitely come back because there is so much more to this story. But at the end, guys, just is it Brandon?
Yeah, it's okay. It's all
Sorry.
right.
Just like Brandon shared, it's not God. This was not God's wrath on me. This was not God punishing me. This was people. And people are humans and people make mistakes and they didn't know how to handle the situation. It had never happened before.
Yeah.
It hadn't happened before.
Yeah.
And yes, I was used. And oh God, we have to come back because then the school transfers to another school. And guess what? At this other school, there's a girl who has a baby.
Yeah.
Who already has a baby. And she's in a sophomore.
Right.
And so just everything switched and it was so crazy. But at the end, please understand, I was not being punished by God. God was not turning his back on me. God was with me that whole entire time.
Absolutely.
Jesus walked right beside me, walked
Amen.
right beside my family because we needed his courage and we needed his strength to go through everything that we went through and everybody who turned their backs on us, who we thought were our friends. But again,
Amen.
I'm not angry. I forgave them. They're people.
Right.
They're people. And that has no reflection on the God that we serve and the God that loves us. So
We have free will, don't we?
yes. So I want to put that out there because
good.
just like you said, if somebody's on the fence about God, this would be screw it.
Ammo.
Look, he's, his wrath, he's ruthless. No, he's a very loving, tender, forgiving God. The best God that you can serve, if I do say so myself.
Right.
So,
Awesome.
yeah, just wanted to say that.
This is what we're doing in here. So
Thank you so much for
Thanks,
sharing.
Amber.
I got a lot
Thank you
out
for
of
having
this.
me.
I did too.
I got
a lot of that
so
too.
much.
I'm gonna cry when I'm editing it. I'll probably be here by myself.
That's awesome. Well, appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for coming. We'll definitely have you back.
Yes,
and
I look forward to
hit
it.
another topic, or we can
Yes.
continue this. So, guys, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to the channel, like it. We'll put Amber's information if you feel like you want to reach out to
Oh,
her and
please.
talk to her about all this. Feel
Yeah.
free.
Please.
Her Instagram handle will be in the
Yeah,
description and all that.
Yeah, we'll give you her personal address and her social security.
You know, and if you feel led and you want to help us out, there's a link to our Patreon on the bottom.
Yep.
And just if you feel led, you can show some love
You want to
monetarily
support
to
what
us.
we're doing?
Yes.
We're going to keep bringing people in here. They're going to spread their love and testimony. Thank
All right,
you.
guys. Thanks.
All right.
See you soon.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. Join us again next time for some more crazy stuff. This is the Called Podcast with Travis Powers and Brandon Powers.